Hey guys, and welcome back to What We Eat in a Week. I apologise, I thought I'd recorded the first bit where I sliced up the steak and marinated it, but I didn't. But this was a 450 gram steak. It was sliced when it was half frozen to make it as thin as possible, and then I marinated it in the fridge. All I'm doing here is just cooking the steak for about 1.5 minutes because I don't want it chewy. And then I'm going to take it off. Next I'm going to add on some mushrooms. So this is for our steak baguettes that we have. I just thought I'd show you them. So I'm going to put some mushrooms on one side. And these are really filled steak baguettes. These are so good. And we had them with onion rings. So all I'm doing is using the grill. And I've put some shrimp on there too, because I'm having steak and shrimp. The mushrooms are half cooked. The onions we don't like soggy, so they're half cooked, and we're popping the meat back on. And of course, you've got to have that melty cheese. The shrimp or prawns, whichever, were already cooked. I had them left over from the day before. That's why I chucked them on. So what we're going to do is get this cheese all melted. Oh, yum, yum, yum. And this meat is not chewy in the slightest, because it wasn't cooked for long. Them cheesy bits on them onions now. Now I've turned the heat off completely, because all I want to do is just melt the cheese. So this is a stone baked part baked baguette, which I finished off. Look at that. If anyone's interested, I will put the full recipe in the description for you. So there you go. That was Steve's, and it was so good, guys. So next night was tacos. With a side of Doritos, obviously. Next night was some home-cooked gammon and some rabbit food. So this is the curry. This is the lamb curry. So that bag you see there is already cooked lamb. It was left over from a roast. It was just pulled to bits. So that's the lamb I used. But the recipe, the original recipe, is for uncooked lamb. So I will leave the full recipe in the description. You want to, I'm using my multi-cooker like I always do. But your spices, aromatics, you want to just make sure you fry them off a little bit. And this multi-cooker is on saute mode. And we'll go with a touch of olive oil. Very unusual to get an Indian inspired recipe out of me. Not something I usually cook. I actually didn't mind this. I think because it was tempered a little bit by the coconut milk. And Steve really enjoyed this. He likes Indian food, but obviously he don't really get it because I don't cook it. Now normally I do cook stuff even if I don't like it, but there's just something with Indian food that I'm not very keen on at all, so it's not something I do. We're going to pop some garlic in here. Some ginger. You can of course use fresh. Now I don't have fresh chilies, so I'm using Korean chilies. Now Korean chilies, they've got the taste, but they ain't got as much heat. So I'm going to add in some garam masala. All measurements will be below in the description if you're interested. Cinnamon. And some cumin. So I'm just cooking off them spices because it's the pan is still on sear function. And if you do that with your spices, it brings out the flavour better. Now I know there's not a lot of recipes you'll find in Indian cooking with mushrooms, but we like mushrooms, so I put them in. Put them in or don't put them in, it's entirely up to you. So I've got some reduced fat coconut milk. These have been left to cook off a little bit. So in that goes. Obviously if I'd have started with lamb, I'd have seared all that lamb. And do what you usually do with raw meat. But I didn't have to do that, which is why my meat's not gone in yet. Here would be a tin of chopped tomatoes, but I'm using passata. We all know I don't do tomatoes. This is one of the concessions I made when I agreed to make a curry. It would have really put me off with them chunks of tomatoes in there, so I chose passata, but for the original recipe it would be a tin of chopped tomatoes. Then the lamb stock. And some hot water and lose your spoon. So like I said, my lamb is already cooked, so I'm just going to pop that in. It's in irregular pieces and it was just like what was left and then frozen. So putting it onto the Slow cooker function now, and it'll be left all day. I have forgot to show you that I added 2 tablespoons of tomato paste, and I'm adding 2 tablespoons of cornstarch, and this is to thicken it up, obviously. There we go. Chunks of lamb, a thick curry. Served with some rice and some naan. There you go. As you can see, it was very easy. I just left to cook in the slow cooker. Then it was, these weren't very nice. These were from the Co-op. Proper cheese, look. You can tell this is Steve's. They were chicken chunks from the Co-op. Yeah, not very good. This was winter beef with cheddar scones on top. I will leave the link to the original video. The original video is 3 years old. So I will leave the link to the original video. See, it's got some lentils and stuff in there. Red lentils. So we get to Sunday. And this is not me. So Amy's gone to Girls Brigade. Caitlin didn't want to go, so she stayed home with me. And she is learning how to do a Sunday dinner. So this is her. I don't know why she's holding the fork like it's going to like attack her or something. I'm one of them people that moves at a faster speed to get things done. I don't dally about, if you get what I mean. I want things done so that job's out of the way. So I do get a bit stressy sometimes when I see the kids, like when they're in the kitchen with me and they're like tickling the food and whatnot. So funny. I'm like, really? Come on, come on, come on, come on. Anyway, she was a bit nervous because this was a big knife. I am right next to her if anyone's worried. Telling her how to use a knife. Kids, as you can tell, she's not sure how to cut the cabbage. Gotta let them learn. I told her to go from that side because she was not holding the cabbage safely, so again, that's why I stayed with. You can see the carrot, one carrot is chopped up. That's because beforehand I've told her how to top and tail and how to cut it, so she'll know for when she does them in a minute. But yeah, she's slow, she's going, bless her. And she did all the veg for Sunday dinner. I was there. She didn't do the taters. I mean, we'd still be waiting for dinner today if that was the case. Bless her little heart, but she did such a good job. She's cutting them the way I showed her, look. She uses a peeler fine, look. Whereas I don't. So she's done all the carrots and she's done the cabbage. She's doing... Not all the veg was in the house. Steve had to go shopping once he picked Amy up. So she did what was in the house. So look, she's just trying to press down. And I keep having to tell her to move the knife forward, slice through it, sort of thing. But she'll learn. I mean, she's only 11, so she will learn. And she looked at me, she was like, trying to cover it up, look. Move your knife forward, Caitlin. I do correct her. People might think that's wrong, but it's better to correct her and show her the right way to stack things into the steamers so that everything fits, rather than me just going in afterwards and changing it all. She'd have put the sweet corn in the other way round, then not everything would have fit, if you know what I mean. And she would rather know, because if she does the veg on her own, she knows how it's stacked then. So we had the same pudding that we had last week, if you remember, that rhubarb crisp, but we didn't have rhubarb in it. And Caitlin didn't cook it last week, I did, but she's doing it this week. This week I'm using homemade lemon curd. And I tell you something, guys, that's just as good as well. So you kind of already know this recipe and how it was done, which is just as well because I forgot to record her doing the little crisp bit on top, which is fine. I mean, you only have to look at last week's meals of the week to see that, so... Ooh, it's on my hands, Mum. Oh dear. This was painful. Painful, I tell you. It's like, come on, Caitlin, get it in there. I could never be a teacher, guys, ever. Credit to the teachers, I tell you. The patience they must have. So originally I just showed her what I wanted her to do with it. Just slice through and incorporate all the flour into the butter. Once she's done that, bring it together with her hands. Which she's doing now. Sort of. She was crumbling it up, and I said to her, "No, you need to bring it together. Get all that dry mix at the bottom and bring it together." It took a couple of times, and then she got it. So this is the base. And she's just going to plop it into there. The lemon curd, I have done the lemon curd as well on the channel, but it was quite some time ago. I will link that video as well underneath in case anybody's interested. So she's just pressing it in, making sure it's level. And then she'll pop the lemon curd on top of this. I don't know if anyone else is like me, but I keep any open jams in the fridge. So when it comes to pouring them out of the jars, they are thick, obviously. That's why it looks like that. In case anyone was wondering. But I do keep mine in the fridge. Always have done. I'm aware you do not have to before anybody starts on. Same with mustards. Once they're open, they go in the fridge. I've got a thing about putting things in the fridge once they're open. So the first thing Caitlin said when she got to this part was, "Oh, can I have everything that I leave in the bowl?" I'm like, "Caitlin, you scrape out that bowl before you do it." And she was like, "Oh." I'm sure she was going to leave half of it in there just so she could eat it out the bowl. Both my kids like lemon curd, which I'm very pleased about. And homemade lemon curd is absolutely glorious. So I forgot to show you doing the crisp. Well, she did do the crisp. And there it is cooked. So she's gone out on an electric scooter. Steve's back with the fresher veggies. He just did a top-up shop, which in between all of this we did record as well. So that will be up in the week, probably Friday. These tender stem were really thin. They had like 2 big thick ones in there. And one was like half a tree. So not very uniform. But it was fine, they got eaten nonetheless. Like I say, she didn't finish the stuffing because she was out on a little scooter. I say little, it's an adult one. It's like 11, 12, 13 miles an hour or whatever. She was out blasting round the little neighbourhood. So just my usual way. These were not my original sausages. I had to skin them. These were Cumberland, and they've got a bit of a kick in Cumberlands, I think. The kids noticed. They did eat them, but Caitlin didn't notice. But with Caitlin, she's food, and I don't think it touches the inside of her mouth. I think it just swallows it. But Amy noticed it was a little bit warm. So they'll just go into the fridge until we're ready for tea. So Steve picked up a great big piece of pork. Here she comes. She knows it's Sunday. He picked up a great big piece of pork. So all I did was chop it in 2 or 3, I think it was, and froze it as separate joints. Now this is not my usual pork loin. I like pork loin because you never ever get a lot of waste. But this wasn't too bad. And I can't remember if it was leg or shoulder, you know. Leg, I'm sure it was. Yeah. Anyway, I'm just scoring this to make sure that Steve gets his crispy, whatchamacallit, crispy skin, which he did. So I dried off that skin completely with that paper towel, added on some flake salt, some mixed herbs, and that was it. It was kind of basic really, but it still turned into a nice dinner. So I did the potatoes, The Yorkshire puddings I made last week and froze the rest. This is the doggies until her mashed potato goes on. And the pork wasn't too bad considering it was leg. So there we have it, a longer meals of the week. A couple of cooking bits in there for you. Recipes will be below. Chat to me down in the comments if you want to, and I will see you in next week's. Don't forget to hit that like button, guys. Thank you very much. Bye.